Hello, I am Holland, also known as the Connoisseur, and today I will be giving a lecture on B-movies. If you notice my eyes going from side to side, it is because I am reading my essay, for I have not memorized it. So here we begin. A B-movie will always be a B-movie, no matter how big a budget or how good the script is. B-movies are one of the most creative and layered film genres that can serve as allegories for deeper issues. One would generally define B-movies as a type of creature feature. There are three general classifications for B-movies: horror, science fiction, and giant monster. The classifying principle behind all three of them is that they have some type of challenge that they pose. Horror movies challenge our notions of reality, while in some way being reflective of it. Usually, a horror movie is a type of monster movie or a subgenre, like a slasher flick. The monster movie has an interesting origin. There have been monster movies going back to Thomas Edison's adaptation of Frankenstein. The idea of the existence of monsters, whether in B-movies or in real life, is a direct challenge to humanity's notions of reality. Dracula is a good example of the monster movie mirroring real life in a way. Took a historical figure and turned him into a monster. Not much of a stretch. Throughout the course of human history, man has believed in the existence of monsters. Even today, people still report monster sightings. People are so fascinated by these reports that it was only natural that Hollywood started making movies about them. Another type of monster movie is the zombie movie. Exaggerating real-life phenomena attributed to voodoo, zombie movies serve to challenge our notions of civilization. These are a subgenre of monster movies and serve as a metaphor for how mindless society has become. The Evil Dead series is a notable example of this because the hero of the films, Ash, is arguably dumber than the zombies he is fighting. This is a particularly brilliant concept because of the reversal. Ghost movies often show people being haunted, or worse, being haunted by Patrick Swayze. Ghosts, whether in the movies or in real life, challenges us to re-examine man's traditional notions of spirituality. Possibly one of the greats of this genre is Stephen King's Pet Sematary. The ghosts in this film are both spiritual and physical. It could be argued that the ghosts in Pet Sematary are a spiritual manifestation of man's fear of death. Slasher films are also a subgenre, often about unkillable psychopaths running loose, killing doped-up, oversexed teenagers. Slasher movies challenge our notions of what monsters humanity really is by pointing the finger at man. From Hell, a movie based on the Alan Moore graphic novel, chronicles the case of Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is another historical figure that mirrors the fictionalized slasher. Science fiction B-movies often can serve as allegories for deeper issues. There are three classifications of the science fiction B-movies: robots, aliens, and atomic monsters. Robots are an example of the Frankenstein story, the story of man playing God by giving life and having his creation turn on him. Robots challenge the viewer to realize the dilemma of giving life and then mass-producing it. Two good examples of this concept are Terminator and RoboCop, B-movies that skyrocketed to the A-list by examining man's underlying fears about the dark side of technology. This brings in a host of ethical questions about man's relationship with technology. Since the beginning of time, man has looked up into the sky and wondered if he was not alone. Alien movies challenge mankind to rethink his role in the universe. A very well-made challenge in line with this mode of thinking was 1951's The Day the Earth Stood Still. Alien served the function of man's fear and fascination with the unknown. Whether it is political, national, or sexual, they are the other to man. Atomic monsters are a fear based on paranoid reaction to the Cold War threat of nuclear annihilation. These types of movies challenge us to recognize what a bad idea it was for mankind to split the atom. The best of this type of movie would be the Godzilla series. The basic idea is that radiation makes things bigger and cause big things to go on a rampage. But the only thing that can quell said rampage is the sacrifice of a beautiful woman, though that measure is about as successful as a Hollywood marriage. The giant monster movie is a fine example of how brilliant the B-movie really is. The giant monster movie challenges us to recognize man's inherent irresponsibility. King Kong was a movie that created the genre. It showcased Carl Denham's basic irresponsibility of going to the worst place on Earth, taking the worst creature off the island and bringing it back to civilization. The giant monster movie has been popularized thanks in large part to Godzilla films, which features two guys in rubber lizard suits beating the crap out of each other. This can be considered a sick fetish. The film Gojira serves as an allegory for the irresponsibility of mankind splitting the atom. This kind of irresponsibility is also applied to genetics in the film Jurassic Park. What these films are trying to prove is the fact that man has the knack to do great and terrible things without thinking about what the implications would mean. The best kind of B-movie is the kind that defies a singular classification. This kind of B-movie would be the best represented by the movie Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers challenges the viewer to recognize the fallacy of war, and it accomplishes this through the use of propaganda. The film fits into so many categories it's not funny. The film is a B-movie and an A-movie. It is science fiction, satire, propaganda, giant monsters, and aliens all rolled into one. There are two ways to classify a film like this. One is to say that the film is all of the above, but this still defies singular classification. The other is to classify the movie the same way the book it was based off of was classified, and that would be science fiction. I am giving this lecture for the people who truly appreciate B-movies and understand the creativity and layers involved in the genre. Fans of the genre are aware of B-movie allegories of deeper issues, whether they are moral, ethical, political, or spiritual. The most influential B-movies came from Germany's golden age of cinema. The German Expressionist movement was a collaboration of different artists, from painters to architects to model makers and filmmakers, to create a new style which still heavily influences the movies of today. The German Expressionist movement produced some of the finest influential movies. The Golem was brought to life in film by director Paul Wegener in 1920. The Golem had a scene with a little girl which influenced the Frankenstein monster scene with the little girl by the lake. The James Whale 1931 Frankenstein film was influenced heavily by the Golem and other films like Dr. Caligari, directed by Robert Wayne. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Dr. Caligari was a doctor who had his hypnotized killer, the somnambulist, terrorize the countryside like Dr. Frankenstein's monster did. The German Expressionist art movement influenced the Frankenstein Manor structural designs from film to film. German Expressionism not only provided the imported directors fleeing World War II to use German Expressionism to direct early Hollywood horror films, but had an innumerable impact upon Hollywood. Fritz Lang's scaling method used in Metropolis was used in The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. Paul Verhoeven admits RoboCop's design was influenced by the robot Hell in Fritz Lang's Metropolis. Dr. Caligari was ripped off by Martin Scorsese when he directed Shutter Island. The mise-en-scène of Dr. Caligari was used by Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas and best influenced Batman Returns and every other good Batman movie going forward. The artistic roots of all good entertaining movies are found in B-movies. Thank you.